School closed Monday. Don't come to class. Wednesday of next week, we have class. 0320 is when the first animated assignment is due. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is a recap of everything we've covered tied into an idea that was inspired talking to Deshaun. We hit a wall and we couldn't think of a way of pushing his idea. So I went to thesaurus.com and looked for synonyms based off of like horror or scary. And one of the ones that popped up was cold feet. And instantly when I saw that, I'm like, that's got potential because we're doing a movie studio logo or a TV studio logo. So I liked cold feet. Everyone understand the origin story. Let's hop into After Effects. Here's my quick storyboard that I knocked out tonight because I just got the idea yesterday. I was thinking there's an elderly person sitting in front of a fireplace doing something, reading a paper, knitting. They're doing something, then they fall back over, camera pushes into their feet, and it dissolves into cold feet with a swinging toe tag from the foot. Everyone see my thought process? So this would cover parenting, character rigging, anchor points, something new, 2.5D to get the parallax effect, plus some overshoot for the toe tag. So I'm going to be covering a lot tonight and doing it from scratch. So you could all see all these concepts we've been working on the past month, but tied together into one unified idea. All right. Plus, we're going to throw in some new stuff like masking, and this will use some blending modes. Remember to name anything, just hit the enter key. First thing we're going to do is go over our project settings. So that was just under composition. You could always create a new composition by clicking here or by going composition, new composition. And here's my storyboard. So I'm going to go composition, composition settings. 2K resolution is what we're doing this whole semester, 1920 by 1080. 24 frames per second, just because it's easier math and it's got, you know, the right amount of motion to it. You don't want to go too crazy. The higher the number, the smoother the motion, the more unnatural it'll look. The lower the number, the choppier it'll be, like stop motion. When you're importing video and stuff like that, watch your starting time code. You might need to reset that to 0 and 10-second duration. Just a reminder, time code is read hours, minutes, seconds, frames. My default composition color is black. I'm just going to keep it there. Hit OK. So next, we're going to move on to importing the footage. I didn't have time to draw this because I just got the idea like yesterday. So I just grabbed a bunch of clip art off of the internet, and we're going to use that for reference. So I'm going to create a new folder in here. I can do that by clicking the new folder down here. I'll call it art, hit enter to accept, and now we're good to go. You've got several ways to bring in your artwork. You can go file, import file, and bring in multiple stuff. You could double click in an empty part of the project panel, or you can go to your Finder and click and drag. Here's my stuff that I had just thinking of this. So I'm going to grab it, drag it to my project panel, and it's going to import it all. It's still selected. Remember, anything highlighted is selected. So I can left click, holding it down, drag it to my art folder. Now all my art is in the art folder. You can see my project panel's lit up blue. Now my composition. Now my timeline. Whatever you click on, that panel will light up blue. Okay. So I'm over in my project panel. I'm going to twirl this down. And here's the storyboard. So I'm going to create a new composition. I'm going to call this one main animation. So I click once. There's my title. All the settings are the way I want, and we're good. I'm going to be throwing stuff in here. I'm going to be precomposing. I'm going to be nesting. That's why main animation tells me all of my sequences should be in this one folder. Even if they're nested, they'll be in this sequence in the timeline. First thing I'm going to do is start bringing in my artwork. There's a window in the background. Toe tag will be last. Room. Okay, so the room. I'll hide the window. That's the room idea I have. No, not that one. Here we go. This is a little bit better. Just clicking and dragging it into the timeline. And remember, whatever's on the top will be on the top. I've got a forest for the view out back. Here's a second forest idea in case I don't like the first one. There's the foot for the toe tag, so I'll need that. May as well bring my toe tag in at this point. Fireplace and a cat. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a straight on back wall. That's going to have the window with the window knocked out and the tree behind it on a different layer. I'm going to use parallax to fake 3D. So we're going to be recapping going from 2D to 2.5D using parallax to fake camera motion and other things like that. So part of my storyboard, which I didn't draw because it hit me at the last second, I'm thinking of putting a cat behind the person so that when the person falls over, they get flattened by the cat. So, just a comedic element. Plus, it gives some more motion to the scene because I'm going to want some flames flickering, candles flickering, the cat tail swishing. Our workflow is and always will be. Think about what you want to do, which I already did. I had my storyboards. So first, I'm going to start with my person in the chair. Now, normally your artwork would be, layered, but, this person, I didn't have time. So I'm going to key out the white. See, actually, let me see if I can roto this. No, I'm not going to roto it. Why go to the wood? So I'm going to do extract. Get rid of the color. Okay, there's our person, and we'll just pretend they're filled in. Okay, now, so we've got our thought. We already know what we're going to be doing. Figure out what you want to do is the next step. So the first thing we always do is move our anchor point. It's a rocking chair. I'm going to put the anchor point. So remember, sometimes you have to click off, then click back on. You use the pan behind tool to move your anchor point and your selection arrow to move layers around. So I'm on my pan behind point. I'm going to move my anchor point to right about here where the chair hits the ground. And you can test it with your keyframes. Well, not even keyframes, just the watches. See, it's working already. So that's the right spot. I don't want this straight line here. It's distracting me. So what I'm going to do is just mask it out real quick. Now, remember, if you have no layers selected, see right here in the timeline, this lit up. That means it's selected. Now it's deselected. Command A or Control A selects all. Command Shift A or Control Shift A deselects all. To make a mask, I've got to have the layer selected. So I want just about there. And I'm going to want the subtract of that. Okay, so that's a bit more accurate. And that's because I didn't have the layer selected. Move up a little bit. Let me cut that out. Change that to subtract, and I'll get this too. Just there's no confusion. I may as well get this too. Remember, you've got to have the layer selected. With subtract, whatever's inside the shape you drew for your mask is erased. With add, whatever's in the mask is added. You see it. Okay, got my person, got the anchor point. Now, let's focus on the room. Here's the room behind them. I don't want this frame around it. So I'm going to crop into that with a mask. Also, I'm going to go one step further. I don't want the walls on the side because I'm using my selection arrow to change my mask. I'm going to be using parallax. So this drawing with perspective will mess up. But if I make my own walls, we'll be fine. Okay. So there's wall one. There's my person. Since I'm going to be doing parallax, I'm going to 3D enable these now. These are your switches. Click here to toggle between switches and modes. When you see mode, that's your blending modes. And for making track mats like alpha mats and luma mats and parenting, click here to go back. You can do parenting here, but you can't get your blending modes or your alpha mats. Let's go put what's done on that back wall. I'm going to make the window a little bit bigger. So let's take a look at that wall real quick. I'm going to zoom in with my magnifying tool. And I'm going to deselect and draw a layer over top. We'll give it no stroke. Remember, clicking the word will change your fill and stroke options. Clicking the color will allow you to change the color. Got to change my render area because that changed. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to lower my resolution so I can work faster. So I covered up the window. I'm going to pre-compose this so it's treated as one layer. So I'm right-clicking with both of them selected. There's pre-comp. Call it back wall. Move all attributes. So it's treated as one layer. I'm going to put my man above it. We're good. All right, fine. Now that window that I want to use, I'm going to ignore the scaling for now, but 3D enable it. Okay, good. The forest is going to be outside the window. I like this one a little bit better. So this one, I'm just going to delete. Fireplace is going to be on the side wall, but I'm going to do all my work straight on and then just use 3D and rotate it. So I'm going to crop out this with my mask. The flames, I'm actually going to animate those. So I'm going to paint those out real fast. Just draw a shape layer over it. And fill it up. And I'll do the same for these candles. I'm just drawing a shape right over it. Fit to view. And let's draw these down. So here's my fireplace. I'm going to pre-compose all this together. So I just got all my layers selected. I'm going to right click, choose pre-comp, call it fireplace wall, move all attributes. We're good. So that's one wall on the side. This is going to be the other wall in the back. There's our person sitting in the room. There's the window. We're going to see the other scene that's behind it. The forest is going to be behind the window. That's the foot and the toe tag for the logo. Can everyone see how I'm just breaking stuff apart based on wall and what it's doing in the scene? And lumping things together to have less layers and to keep them together? Okay. I'm going to hide my forest. Here's my window. Let me hide what's above it so I can see it more accurately. I want this to be negative space in front of the window. So I'm going to mask that out. And I'll choose subtract. If I click my alpha right here, that's all see-through. So that's working the way I want it. There's my window for the back wall. And it's 3D enabled. Okay. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to throw a camera in the room because I'm working in 3D. So I'm going layer new. This is where you can add all your new stuff. Layer new. There's my camera. I'm just going to keep the default settings, hit OK. And I'm ready to start compositing my scene. So I'm going to hide the fireplace wall. Let's start with the back wall. Got to 3D enable that. Okay, good. Put my camera at the top. So I'm going to hit P for position. Since it's 3D enabled, X side to side, Y up and down, Z closer or further from the camera. You got three choices. You can hover and then drag with your left mouse. You can click once, type in a number, or you can use your selection arrow and move it with the gizmos. Whatever works for you is fine. So let's see what's further from the camera. Going positive is moving backwards. Can everybody see that? So I'm going to make this positive 2000. And I'm going to scale it up because it's not big enough to fill the scene. is the back wall. P. Good. Back a little bit. So position to position it, scale to change the size of it, 3D enabled it into the scene. Any questions on that part so far? No? Okay. Now my window. If my wall is 2000, I'm going to make my window 2000 just so that they're both lined up on Z. And my wall is going to need a hole in it too, so we can fly through it. Well, we'll be able to see through it. So I'm going to draw a mask there. I'm just going to make it a little bigger than the window, just be on the safe side. You subtract. Now we have space outside. Everyone see that? You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, I'm going to want the window to be bigger so we can see more of the outside, and I'll position it. Say about there. Okay, good. Now let's fix that mask. I've got to make sure it's selected. I could just click the word mask and then move it. Like that. Put that down. Okay. There's our transparency. Any questions on that so far? No? Okay. My wall is 2000. I want the forest to be further away, so I'm going to make it 2500. See how that goes. Why are we not seeing it? Oh, I see what I was saying. That was scale. Sorry about that. Now it's outside the window. Let's test our camera out real quick. I'm going to zoom in and out. Let me do a quick orbit. See the trees outside? The bigger the distance in Z space, the greater the parallax. 2500 is not cutting it. I'm going to do 3500. Now let's see what happens. Even greater parallax. Okay. Yeah, so I'll stick with 3500, scale it up a little bit. So we got some wiggle room. Like that. Yep. See? That's why I'm working in parallax. Far more flexibility as an animator. Okay, and obviously this cup, we'd fix all that, but I'm just showing you the quick way of my concept to completion. So we got one wall done. The side wall is going to be the fireplace. So that's our main animation. I'm going to make another composition for my side wall. We'll go composition. I'll call it side wall fireplace. And you'll say, well, why am I making a whole new composition for this? Several reasons. I'm going to have the wall. I'm going to have the fire. And I'm going to do a little trick that's new that we'll be covering later on, a displacement map. I'm going to animate it all straight on so it looks good. Then I'm going to 3D enable that pre-comp and put it in the room so that when the camera moves, you get that spatial distortion. Make sense? So I'm working straight on, even though this is a side wall. I want to do flat and then position it the way I want. Make sense? Okie doke. Let's see. Fireplace wall. Here we go. Drag that into here. Scale it up. Let's say it's about this size. Sure, why not? Don't want the fireplace filling up the whole room. I'm going to put a solid the same color as this behind it. So layer new, solid. Use my eyedropper to choose the color. Remember, whatever's on top is what you see. I got a little bit of a fringe around it, so I've got my pre-comp selected. I'm just going to mask that out with subtract. Remember, you have to have the layer selected to make your mask. Got that. Hit subtract. Okay. So there's that wall. Now let's talk about those flames real quick. When you're doing an animation, you want to try and keep consistent art style or make things look deliberate. So I'm working predominantly grayscale. So I'm going to make my flames grayscale. I've got nothing selected. I'm going to use my pen tool. And let's do a gradient fill. Why not? Let's try radial. See what that looks like. So nothing selected. So this way I'm drawing a shape. I know what it looks like, but we're not going to say it because we're grown-ups here. All right. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now, why is this not giving me the radial gradient that I want? Let's take a look. Radial. Okay. Let's change the start. There we go. Right there. So I'm going to want it to be darker on the edges, brighter in the middle. We want really bright at the top. Okay, that angle's pretty decent. Okay, let's just say that this is what we're dealing with. Whoa, what happened there? That's pretty wild. Let me drag that in. Actually, let's go this way. Okay, that's a little better. Let's move that like such. All right, good. All right, fine. We'll stick with that. So this is our fire for now. And let's go back to our main animation. And let's zoom out a little with the camera. So this is your orbit to swing around. This is to pan or tilt. So I'm holding down shift. Pan goes side to side. Tilt is up and down. And this one is your zoom in, zoom out. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see where to put my next wall. Here's my fireplace wall. I'm going to place it right over the back wall. And I'm going to 3D enable it. And let's scale it up. Why are we not seeing the whole wall? Let's see. Fireplace. Fit. There's the sidewall fireplace. Ah, I grabbed the wrong layer. So we'll delete that. Okay, sidewall fireplace. I can't find this, so I'm clicking my hamburger. And I'm going to choose reveal composition and project. And it's right down here. So I'm going to drag it out of there. That's a fast little tip for finding your stuff. And you could always click at these dividers to make your names longer. So this is the one I want. Wait, I want to be my main animation. Drag it above my back wall. There we go. Now 3D enable it. R. So X is like if you're swinging a trap door. Y is what we want. So we're going to want minus 90. And now we can just position it over to the side. And as we position it, you see it's starting to line up. So now we can scale it like such. Put it into place. Good. All right. And let's try going that way a little bit. All right, fine. Move it down. All right, we'll stick with that. All right, now let's zoom in a tiny bit. We zoom out. Okay, fine. So we got that. And what I'm going to do, since I'm losing some sight over here on this side, I'm going to just draw a shape. It's going to be this. Could someone get that, please? Go there. Okay. Deselect. Do that. Good. So these two shapes I just created to fill in the wall, I'm going to 3D enable them. And Let's see. The wall is, so I'll hit P. The wall's at 2000. There we go. It's this one. I'm going to scale up. Come on. Right there. So S for scale. Click the chain link to non-uniformly scale it. Fill that in. Good. And let's see. So we get hit like that. This is the other one we want. So let's move that over. And we'll scale this one. S for scale. Scale that. Okay, good. All right. So these two layers, I'm going to pre-comp to the back wall. And this is going to be nested now. So I'm going to call it back wall extended. What's that mean? That means if I double click on it, there's the shape layers I just created to cover up the wall while I was zoomed out. Okay, now let's see. Why are we? Oh, because we changed. Okay, so P for position. Fine, that's fine. Let's see the back wall. Is that? Now it's fixed the window. Something happened to our window, but that's fine. Okay, cool. Happy with that. And now we can see the fireplace when this pushes in. And in case you're looking, that should be about down there. All right, fine. Any questions so far? 3D enabling, adding the camera, setting up the stuff. No? All right. Person in the chair, the back wall is 2000. So if I go negative, it's going to go closer to the camera. Let's try negative 500. No, okay, let's try negative 2000. Let's hit S for scale. Scale the person up. Let's position them. All right. Good. Let's test our camera. Let's zoom in. Now, why is that window no longer working? I'm going to hide that. It's the window. P, that's it. Oh, wait a second. Sidewall. Okay, yeah, we'll skip that. Yeah, that is a 2000. Oh, it's because this pre-comp that we just made was no longer 3D enabled. That's what did it. Okay. So let me scale that up. Once I extended that, that's what happened. Okay, makes sense. Say about here. Sorry about that. It's all part of live troubleshooting. Keep that around there. Let's move that over because that lines up. All right. Let's get that window moved over as well. All right. Now let's test it out. There we go. That's working. Parallax is good. Let's check out orbit. Yep. Good. All right. This wall, I'm going to bring in a little bit just because I want to. All right. And now we put our person back into the room. Okay, great. So we got our scene. We already thought about what we want to do. So, person in the rocking chair, R for rotate. Let's say they rock for like 2 seconds and then they fall over hit the cat and we zoom in on the logo. Right, so hit save. Let's put the cat behind them. Cat needs to be 3D enabled because it's 3D space. Person is at minus 5,000. Oh, let's try about there. Sure. Let's throw an extract on there to get rid of the white. Okay, right about there. Good. And we'll say right here is where the cat's going to be. Now, the cat, I want to get squashed by the chair. So I'm going to have to move its anchor point to the bottom middle. With the gizmo, I have to be hovered over one of the axis bars. I already know it's going to be squash, so I'm turning that off now. And my scene is roughly set up. Everyone good so far? Okay. All right. I know I'm going fast, but it's all recap. Person in the chair, they're going to be rocking. So let's see. Is it going to be? Nope. Is it going to be Z? Yep. It's going to be Z. So I move forward a little bit. They're not going to be going a huge amount because it's a rocking chair. Then I'm going to go forward. I can copy this keyframe because that's them on the ground, but I can do a little bit of them leaning forward. Go back to them there. This is the tilt back. Go forward. This should be the swing forward. Yep. Everyone see that? Good. Now right here is where they're going to pass. So that'll be quick for comedic relief. There they are hitting the cat. That's impact. So starting right before is where the cat will squash. So I'm going to hit S, click here, go to about there, flatten it like that. See? Going to hit save. Save frequently. Clear this out so I can work faster. 23 gigs just from that. Any questions on that beginning? Thought it out, figured out what I wanted to do, set my anchor points, and I'm working in 3D space just to add a little bit of complexity to it. Like that. Okay, fine. I'm liking that. So now we can have the camera slowly start to push in a little bit to create some anticipation. And this is where the feet are going to be at. So let's do this. I'll go to where the feet are on the ground. I'll add my feet because that's going to be part of the logo. My foot. It's got to be 3D enabled. The person is at minus 2,000. This way the feet will line up. Why am I not seeing anything? I'm going to solo it by clicking this right here. Oh, there's our artwork. Okay. I'm going to hold down Command and double click the pan behind just so I can see that a little bit better. Let's zoom in. All right. So let's start masking. I don't need most of this. So I'm just going to hit subtract. I'm just doing this so I don't have to draw feet. And to give you a little bit more exposure to masks, I just drew several masks. Okay, fine. And let's get it closer to the foot just so you can see what's going to happen. There. subtract that one. Oh, I didn't close it. That's why it's doing that. There, see that little circle up here? Now my path is closed. Okay. Paths have to be closed shapes. I'll go a little tighter around the toes. Come on, close up. There we go. Okay. I got all that. Why is it not letting me close that? There we go. Oh, nope. You know what? Let's just delete that mask and we'll work without it. All right, here we go. Got all that? Sure. All right, fine. And remember, there's a lot for me to be tackling, but this is what it's going to look like for you if you hold off animating until the 11th hour. I'm doing all this right now in under an hour as quickly as possible to show you what this is like. So there's the foot. I'm going to want my anchor point for the foot where it's going to bend. So let's see. Here it is right here, the gizmo. So I'm going to want to bend by the ankle. I've got to be over one of the stems of the gizmo. That's about good. Fine. Now I can unsolo it. And let's see. It's got to be a little bit above. So it's 1 pixel above. I'm happy with that. All right. Now I'm just going to select my person. Where are they in the chair? Right there. We'll get rid of the foot with the mask. Again, like I said, normally I'd want to do all this artwork myself, but you know, this way you can at least see everything quicker. Here's the foot. Let's put the foot over the chair. We'll position and scale it. R for rotate. Let's see. I think it's going to be Z. Yep. S for scale. Slide on over. Perfect crime. All right. So we'll duplicate that. Command D. In this one, I'm going to put a couple pixels closer. Let's go a little bit behind. Let's go right about right there, I guess. Yeah. All right, fine. So now we'll talk about parenting. Here's my person in the chair. I'm going to parent both of my feet to the person in the chair. You can use the pick whip or the drop down menu. So what that means is my person in the chair, once they start rocking, the feet move with it. Any questions on that parenting recap? No? Okay. Let me see if I can get rid of that white back there. Delete that mask. Let me try one more time. There we go. I'll set that to subtract. Good. I can copy that mask and I can put it on the other foot. Set it to subtract. I just did Command C, Command V. There we go. Now you'll see both feet a little better. See? All right. Okay. Any questions on anything so far? Like that. Position, rotation. That's all I did. So I'm going to start with my camera. I'm going to click point of interest, position, and my rotation because I don't know what's going to be happening. I'm going to do a slow push in to just before the cat gets squashed. So I'm going to grab my zoom. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to grab my tilt so I can fix that. That's good. Okay, now the window is starting to not line up. So let's fix that. Slide that over a little bit more. We'll fix the trees. Now it's tested out. That looks a lot better. Okay. There's the squash. Now, I'm going to want my camera to zoom in quickly here. So I'm going to click my empty diamond over here. This is the same exact keyframe as there. So if I go forward a little bit, I can zoom in to the feet. And I'm going to use my pan and tilt. So there's our motion. And as this is pushing in, I'm going to have the feet rotate down to the way I want them in my logo. I believe it's going to be Z. Let's find out. Yep, it's going to be Z. Okay, so I go forward. Let's rotate these feet. Feet go down. And let's also change the positions so that they stay where they're supposed to. That up. Go down. Oops. Let's see. Right about there. Okay. There we go. All right. I'm going to ease all my camera frames just so you get a refresher on easing. I selected all of them. You could click the word to get all the keyframes in that. Don't click the stopwatch a second time. You'll lose all your keyframes. Hovering over my keyframe, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now for my cat squash, I'll do a refresh on the, actually, no, I'll do the foot. Yeah, the foot is what I'll do. I want it to go very slowly into that resting position. So I'm going to select my foot, hover over, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. If you've only got one button mouse on a Mac, you got to hold down command. I'm going to go into my speed graph now. So here's my graph editor right here. I've got my keyframes selected right there. This is the value graph. Now remember, this first little drop down by the eye, value is how much is happening. The rotation. I want the speed graph to edit the velocity of the rotation. Here's my maximize. The yellow squares are your keyframes. This is the influence handle. That's what you're going to be changing. So easy ease is the same as slow out and slow in. It's right there. It's slowing out. This is the fastest motion, and this is slowing in. So I'm going to want to slow into my second keyframe. So it's a nice, slow, lifeless drop of the foot like that. Any questions on the speed graph? Okay, go do the same. Click the word. Oh, that was position. Now I'm going to have to do the same for rotation. So let me hit Shift R to get my rotation. Do the same. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Go to my speed graph. And all I did was drag that all the way over. Watch the square does not move up or down. That'll change the amount of what's happening. See the difference between the one foot and the other one? I actually like that offset motion. So let's go P for position, R for rotation. We got to see both feet based off of my sketch. So I'll move this one over here and I'll rotate it down a little bit more like that. And I'm just going to ease these. I'm not going to adjust the speed graph. So I liked the way the other foot dragged behind it. let's since it's going a further distance, I'm going to make it move a little slower by dragging those keyframes out. All right, good. Any questions about the speed graph recap? No? All right. So we've got, let's take a look. We've got parallax 2.5D. We've got squash and stretch. We've got using the speed graph and offsetting our animation. So I've got most of my logo done. This is where we're going to start seeing the actual logo appear. And that you can figure out how you want that to come in. I would have these fade to black, and this would be its own artwork. But let's talk about that toe tag and go over overshoot plus expressions. We'll use the inertial bounce. Now, I started this lecture about 15 minutes late, but look at this. We're still under that hour mark, and we've covered all this ground. The more you use After Effects, the quicker you can work in it. The tag is above this foot, which is what I want. Let's hit S for scale, scale it down. That. All right, so there's my toe tag. Normally, I would want something behind it. Let's see if I can do that in here. Okay, that's not going to let me do it. So we'll pretend that's there. Oh, actually, you know what? No, let's not cheat this. So I've got this not selected. And I'm going to draw this. We'll make our tag off-white just so we can see it. I'm going to put it below the toe. Add to 3D enable it. Here's my toe tag. Let's change the color. Just let's, oh, wait, you know what? I'm going to, let's see, P for position. So that my toe tag is at here. So I'll just copy it. There we go. Actually, no, I'll just click on the word position, get the whole thing. All right. And what happens if I get pure white? No. All right. Let's zoom out, see where it is. Why am I not finding that toe tag? Oh, it's over here, it looks. Is that it? Nope. Here it is right here. So we scale down. The anchor point I never set, which is, as we know, a big no-no. But doing this will help me at least dial it in faster. So now I'm going to non-uniformly scale it to about the size I want. Great. I'm going to parent this to my toe tag, P. So if I hit R for rotation, they move together. Fantastic. Lastly, I'm going to deselect all this. I'm going to draw a string to go to the toe. Like that. Get rid of the fill. Click on a solid stroke. Make it black. Make sure it's thick enough to be seen. Sure. Okay, like that. Fine. I know I spelled it wrong. I don't care. 3D enable it. Parent it to the toe tag. P. This was, let me get P for position. Copy. I really should have set my anchor point, but you know, I'm trying to speed run this. Oh, it's over here. That's what happens when you don't set your anchor point first. And you can see, since I drew it two-dimensionally, the scale is way off once I bring it into 3D space. Move that anchor point as best I can just to speed this up. Yeah, good. All right, now let's try that scale. That's much better. Now I can live with that. Okay, fine. My string is parented to the toe tag. Solid shape behind the toe tag is it's parented to the toe tag. I was hitting the U key to hide my keyframes. Now I want to adjust this path. So here's a good recap on that. Since I drew this in here to adjust the path, you got to keep twirling down your contents till you get to the path. I'm going to use my selection arrow. All the path points are selected. So if I hold down shift and click just one of them, that allows me to edit that one path point. Now it's where I want it to be. Just like that. And you notice this swings, does not swing. So what I'm going to need to do, everything's parented to my toe tag. My toe tag, I'm going to parent to the foot. It's this foot right here. That one right there. So that's layer number 3. So I can just use my drop down. Now the toe tag moves with the foot. And what we can do here is I can have it animate from behind the foot. So we'll go, here's my toe tag that everything's parented to. P for position. Go forward a little bit to here. That's where it's going to end up. This is a recap on working backwards. Previous and next keyframes. I'm going to slide this up behind my foot. So the foot is hiding it. Now I've got that motion happening like that. I could clean that up with an animated mask, but like I said, this is a speed run. Everyone good so far? And I can have the type come in. All right. Now I'm going to show you that side fireplace thing real quick. Here it is. Here's that. I'm going to use a displacement map to animate that real quick. But first, I'll throw on a turbulent displace so you can see that. I'll name this fire. Right away, you can see that it's more organic looking. I'm going to do an expression. Here's a new expression for you. Remember to do an expression. You hold down the Alt or Option key when you left click on a stopwatch. The evolution is what's going to make this phase and loop. So time asterisk. Let's try, the higher the number, the more it's going to move. So I'm going to do 150 for a nice lazy fire. Now remember, you've got to click out of the expression field. Okay, that's a bit extreme. So let's change the size and we'll change the amount. And let's use our crosshair and see if that helps us. Okay, that's already a little bit better right there. You know, it's a bit much, but let's lower the amount, lower that a little bit more. Okay, that's a bit better. So that's a recap on using the crosshairs. You click once and then click where you want that to go rather than figure out the math. All right, so we got a little bit of turbulent displace. Fine, but it's always about pushing your idea. I drew this in here. So with my selection tool, and I've got this shape layer selected, I can add, let's try wiggle paths. And what that's going to do is it's going to animate the path point. So right away, I've got something already more interesting and organic happening. So let's change the size. You don't want to go too wild. Let's try about that for the details. Let's try smooth. Wiggles per second. 2 is about fine. And let's do a little bit of a random seed to randomize it. Okay, fine. We're getting a little bit closer. So that's just a recap on using the add for a shape layer. Now, this is brand new, and we're going to go over it deeper in this semester, but I'm going to use a displacement map to really make this pop. So I'm going to make a new layer, new solid. I'll call it fractal. We'll cover fractals shortly, possibly even next week. And I'm going to use noise. Let's use fractal noise for this. I'm putting on my fractal layer. And basically, what this is going to do is white will go 100% in one direction, black will go 100% in the opposite direction, neutral gray will do nothing, and all the tones in between will be forced to do something. So I'm going to get this pretty contrasty like that. Okay, let's zoom out. Okay, fire flows upward. So for my transform, the offset turbulence, going in a negative amount is up. So I'm going to click here, scroll forward, have it go up. So let's try minus 1000. The higher the number, the faster it's going to move. That's a nice lazy flame. Let's hit U to go that keyframe. So let's try minus 1500. A little bit faster. Okay, fine. Same expression as before. Hold down Alt or Option. We're going to do time, asterisk, and this time let's do 350. Higher number. Now look what's happening. Got that going on. Fine. I can adjust the scale of my fractal. Let's try about here for now. And we go, okay, that's going on. I'm going to pre-compose this by right-clicking. And I'll call this map. So I'm going to use this as a displacement map. Move all attributes. And we're going to be covering this soon, so don't get worried. Going to hide it. Choose my fire. Throw a displacement map on it. I'm just showing you some options here. Right there. For displacement map, I'm going to choose the map I just created. And let's say, see, now we're really cooking. See the difference? Totally different. I could also throw a roughen edges on that if I wanted. Dial it in a little bit even more. Let's put that before the displacement map because layer order matters. There we go. Okay, that's good. So now when we go back to our main scene, there's our animated fire in the fireplace, keeping the perspective. That's why I worked straight on. Everyone good? Okay. So let's go back here for a second. I've got my fire, my map. I'm going to duplicate these. So I'm just going to pre-compose it first. So I'll call it flame big, move all attributes. This is why pre-comping helps. So if I hit Command D to duplicate, I can now go scale and position and use it for my candles. When you've got something, you don't always need to reinvent the wheel. So I've got my fire. I can just reuse it for my candles. And no one's the wiser. Duplicate it again. Move it over. That. Go back to our scene. Save. Just like that. Boom. And then you could zoom in on here, have it say cold feet with, the F, the two E's being the feet. and the toe tag. That was a 1 hour speed run. Position, scale, rotation, opacity. I just knocked out all that real quick. Where's your anchor point? The foot. I wanted the foot to move like a foot. I showed you the speed graph. Something new, masking. We covered like 30 things in that 1 hour to get one full concept. So parallax, 3D enabled layers. Oh, I forgot overshoot. Here's the last step. So there's my toe tag, fine. We'll go to toe tag, hit, make sure we got the right one. This is the one parented to the foot. Sure, R for rotate. We're going to want Z, I imagine. Let's find out. Always test. Yep, Z. So the foot swung this way. So I'm going to go. Let's see. The whole thing's moving. That's one of the problems with this parented. So I'll do it by eye. This minor, a little bit. Give that a little bit of extra life, and then I'll ease all that. Something subtle. That's a bit too much because of that string. So I'll get rid of that last keyframe. Just a little subtle jostle. Had I planned out my artwork better, I could have gotten something faster, but I mean, something better. This was all about doing something fast. That animation hierarchy. What's happening? When's it happening? How's it happening? When's it coming in? How's it coming in? I had the toe tag come from behind the feet because it wouldn't be on his foot while he's still alive. Just sticking out these things. And that's all part of your process as an animator and a motion designer. See the parallax scene? Boom, just like that. Any questions on any of those steps?